It's time to talk Florida State offensive line recruiting.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back into another episode of Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith. Today's episode, we are going to break down a couple of key prospects for the Noles in the trenches with my buddy, Ray McNeil. And today's show is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. Make sure you download the app and check it out. It is a great place to get acquainted with anybody you need to for all your hiring needs. So without further ado, let's bring in Big Ray. How you doing, sir? How's everything in Tampa?
Everything's good. Just got done from a long day of training, so you know how that goes.
I've seen it many times. Ray is offensive line guru in Tampa, Florida with Trench Academy, and he's also a part of California Power's 7-on-7 and 5-on-5 program. He's a little bit of everything because he's a California guy, played college ball in Georgia, now lives in Tampa. He's well-traveled. But several of the kids that are on California Power's 5-on-5 team are being recruited by Florida State. Ziyare Addison, Max Buchanan. I mean, I'm sure Florida State would probably take about 7-8 of the kids. Javion Hilson's committed to Florida State. Mm-hmm. He's on California Power, the defensive end. List is pretty long. Just to get kind of started, I mean, you've been around training kids for a long time. You deal with NFL players, guys going to the draft. You've been around the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Could you just give like a minute segue into like how hard it is compared to other positions to train offensive linemen and how long it takes, comparatively speaking?
Well, like I tell people all the time, man, it's a process, especially the younger you get them, because you have to sit up here, you have to build the fundamentals, you have to build the blocks, things of that nature. I like to pride myself because I'll take them as young as they want to come and work. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be one of these people that are, I only work with high school guys, only work with college guys. No, let's build them blocks. Let's build those fundamentals. Let's keep progressing and move on. One of the cool things about the thing that I do, and you've been to the gym over at the Church Academy, you know, it's nothing for me to have a Zire Addison there, but also a Rob Jones from the Miami Dolphins, and they're able to talk with each other, bounce ideas. You know, I have a Eddie Pierre Louis, but then I have his brother there, Richard Garage, who practice squad with the Bills right now. You know, just constantly talking football at different levels, different schemes. You know, I love it when the college kids come back and, you know, what do you guys run? What do you run? What do you run? How do you block this? How do you block this? How do you block this? That way you can be versed in, you know, what I'm teaching and, you know, specific techniques for that group or that school. And it's pretty awesome when they come back. So.
Oh, that's fun, man. But unlike like running back, which is like a natural trait, O-line is 5 guys trying to do one thing, more or less. Sir. So it's hard. To that point, and I'll let you talk about whichever kid you want in whichever order you want, because Florida State, again, is after several of your players. And like we both know Zire really, really well. He's a local kid with just outside of Tampa. Mm-hmm. What's he like, and like what was he like when he first came to you? Because he was a D lineman and a basketball player, and then you got him to move to O line, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So Zire came to us. Zire came. It's funny because Zire came at the middle of his freshman year. Body was completely different. Long kid, kind of lanky, looked like a DN tight end type. Saw the athleticism, saw the want to, saw the work ethic. So it was a matter of time. I said, look, man, I always tell the kids, you want to be most athletic at your position. So I said, you can make a lot of money being an offensive tackle. I said, if you buy in, you know, we had the thing going on Tuesdays where we did the one-on-ones, and he went from D-line to O-line one day, naturally won a couple reps, and then he was locked in ever since. You know, this is a kid that I'll get text messages at 11 and 12 o'clock of him watching technique stuff online, things of that nature. There's another kid, I'll get a video at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning of him outside with a helmet on and his shirt off, kick sliding, working on his vertical set. You know, his work ethic is unmatched. You know, the kid puts in the time, puts in the effort. You know, he's getting ready. I believe they have Rivals Camp this weekend, so a lot of those guys will be there. But like I said, just a lot of people don't realize the work that he put in to get to where he's at right now. I mean, like I said, the kid constantly is putting in work and always trying to get better. These college coaches know. Coach Atkins probably knows. He probably talks him to death on the phone, like, Coach, give me some feedback on my game, what I'm doing, what I could be doing better. So, he's that kid.
Well, that kind of speaks to what I know of him. He gets in his own head once in a while when he gets mad at himself when he loses a rep. We've both seen that, but he's just gotten so much better. He doesn't lose near as many reps.
No, not at all.
But that's why he's got Oregon, Florida State. And he's at Colorado right now, if I remember what you said before we got on here. Miami. He's got Alabama offered him recently.
Mm-hmm.
I know from talking to him recently, UCLA, Oregon, Florida State, Penn State are probably going to be all official visits. I think it's a great story because when I first started talking to him, he had a handful of offers. Now he got like 30 or 40. So
it was a situation where it's hard to tell these kids to trust the process with Twitter. Back when I was playing and things of that, back when I was playing things of that nature, for me to know who was getting recruited, I had to look in the recruiting magazine. Well, these kids wake up, Coach, why this guy got an offer? Why he's got an offer? Why is this like dude?
Oh, I hear that too.
Stay your course. Like, do what you do. And I think it's funny because it's like, you get a school that they want to offer from, and then when they get that offer, now I got to get this one. I got to get this one. I got to get this one. I'm like, just remember where you were like 3 months ago and to now, stuff like that. So like I said, to see his process full circle is pretty awesome.
Talk a little bit about Max Buchanan. He plays at Seminole High School over in the Orlando area. I call him Mad Max. I had him on the podcast recently. What was he like?
I call him that. He calls himself Big Sexy. So he's trying to trademark it. He's trying to trademark it. But yeah, he told me he was on the show. We'll go ahead.
What's he like to coach? Because he is a full-on mentality-wise barbarian kind of guy. Fits the mentality of an interior offensive or defensive lineman. What's he like to coach?
Man, he's awesome, man. Max is the mindset of a 1990s offensive lineman. The guy, the big lineman's gonna come with the cutoff shirt, showing his stomach, long hair, just grit. He's awesome, man. Great personality, but comes to work. A lot of people don't realize how technically polished he is. A lot of times they see him mauling on the field, but he's very technical. Jump set, and can play all 5 positions. And what a lot of people don't know, he started out as a center. I had him at a camp when he was a freshman. That's when I first met him and his dad. Got reacquainted with him when we asked him to come part California Power. But he's done a tremendous job. He's a coach's kid. Dad was offensive lineman. I believe was at App State. Played at another school, transferred there. So he soaked all that in. But he's got the mentality like, hey, I'm gonna take you from point A to point B, and there's nothing you can do about it.
He does, and he plays at a high school that's very blue collar. Seminole has always been a downhill physical team, so it kind of fits anyway. But he's a kid, UCF, Miami, Florida State. Again, Clemson, the offer list is really, really impressive. He thinks he's going to play center. Do you think he's better at center or guard, or does it even really matter?
I think that with his nastiness, his knowledge of the game, I like him as a center, and he'd be a center guard. I think more so instead of guard tackle. I tell them all, you gotta know two, master two, and be able to play both sides of doing that. So him being at center, him being that, he'll be good. And the fact that he's already have reps there and has tape at center, it's only gonna help him whichever school he decides to go to. But those 2 kids that we're talking about now, you'll definitely be hearing their names pretty soon. And it's cool. That's the reason why I love the fact of even the trench and, of California Power, because Max has come down since California Power and come and train at trench. Got to come with some of the guys, Nathan Tavit from Oviedo has come down. You got Jaquez Joyner from Coco. He's come down, things of that nature. So, you got Jared Gordon from Trinity Ocala. Zach Johnson, all these guys come down and they're getting acquainted with each other. And it's cool, man, to see because these are guys they're potentially going to play with or play against. So it's pretty cool. You get to train them. build that bond with these kids, and man, it's pretty awesome to see.
What do you think about Florida State's transition? Like they're recruiting elite kids now. They struggled with O-line recruiting for a while.
Yeah.
They weren't getting the Max Buchanans and the Zire Addisons as
Mhm.
consistently as they should. And do
Yeah.
you think like last year, like they ran the ball on teams, like we're coming at you, kind of old school,
Yeah.
talking about the 90s downhill.
Yeah.
Do you like where they're at and like how they're recruiting? Like what do you think about Florida State's O-line and their program?
I do think I like how they're doing it, and the way that Atkins is doing it is the right way. He's not waiting for people to offer before him. Zaire's first offer was Florida State.
Oh, was it really? I didn't know that.
Yes, Zaire's first offer was Florida State. You know, he had been everywhere. Like I said, he'd come back mad and said the other. Zaire went to a camp. He killed the camp. Came back to Florida State. Then after people saw him with Florida State, then everybody comes a calling.
Oh,
But
yeah, of course, of course.
Atkins is doing a good job evaluating these kids at a young age and seeing and getting a relationship with them before a lot of teams jump on them. And he's doing a good job. I know he's done the same thing with Max. I think Max got an offer, from them early, things of that nature. So, Josh Petty, all these guys from California Power, Dontrell Glover. So, they're doing a good job of evaluating talent before talent blows up.
Well, I think that's part of the game. Like if you build a relationship longer with somebody when it comes time to cut bait, you're less likely to get left behind.
Well, not only that, you get a lot of the kids too that, their first offer is near and dear to them. Like there's a lot of
Oh,
people
sure.
that, hey man, that was the first one. I'll never, this is a whole nother, position. But, I was with Dallas Golden yesterday at the gym, and he said Florida State's near and dear to him because they were the first ones to offer. So they'll
Oh,
always
cool.
hold a spot.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. And I get it. I mean, he recently visited Florida State as well. So
Mhm.
that's a pretty interesting way to look at it. Let's talk a little bit about like the future. Last year, Florida State, before they got beat up on by Georgia in the bowl game, they won their first 13 games. That's hard.
Yeah.
How much do you think that really plays a role, especially with Florida kids who we both know are fickle and they change their minds like, the weather changes around where you live. It's
Yeah.
we both know it. It's true. Like, do you think
Yeah.
that's going to help them short term, or is it really going to matter that much?
I think it'll help them out a lot, man. It's always who runs Florida. Like everybody wants to know who runs Florida. UCF had their run when they went undefeated and called themselves national champions and everything. They were running Florida. They were getting recruits that a lot of people thought, they wouldn't have got before. Same thing with Florida State. Florida State, it's all about getting back to being Florida State. And if you run Florida, when you tend to run Florida, you tend to get the Florida kids.
Well, right now they're starting to do that. This last class was the best one they'd had in a while. And the kids
Mhm.
that got committed so far, like Solomon Thomas, some of the kids
Oh,
they got committed.
he's a dog.
I
he's
mean,
he's an absolute dog.
let's talk about him. We both know him. I've seen him several times, and I know you have
Oh
too.
man,
Give me your Solomon
that
Thomas evaluation.
that kid's ankle and hip flexibility is second to none right now. In the game, nasty kid, has a great IQ. Tried to get him to play with his California Fires. Like, Coach, I'm just not into it right now. I said, that's cool. I understand, man. But I'm a fan. I'm going to continue to watch you. Got to meet him in person at the Under Armour camp out in Orlando where I saw you at. So, man, no, he's a dog, good kid, great mom. That kid's going to be special.
What do you think the future is? Since you brought up the point about Atkins does a really good job for Florida State evaluating young O linemen. Do you think that a lot of coaches don't do that? Is it something that like Atkins is just really good at? Maybe other schools are a little bit scared. O line's hard to project. We both know this.
Absolutely.
Is
Absolutely.
that the biggest concern why teams don't like Atkins? Is like he's bold, flat out. But
Yeah,
is
100%.
that the reason? What is it?
I think it is at times, man. It's just some people have a niche for finding that talent, not only finding it but developing it. And like I said, he's done a great job of doing that, identifying at a younger age, not waiting. Because like I said, if you're one of these people that are just waiting till everybody offers, then you can get lost in the sauce. But like I said, Atkins had the chance to build that relationship with Zire and Max at a young age before anybody else was jumping on him. And when you do that, when you call, they answer.
Well, I mean, Florida State has had, like, just off the top of my head, like 4 or 5 of the guys that you all have on their campus just recently.
Yeah.
They're doing a good job of hitting Central Florida kids hard. And when Florida State was really good, when I was growing up under Bowden, they were always getting a stud from Orlando or Tampa or Cocoa or whatever. So they're kind of trending in that way, but they'd lost some of that since Jimbo had left. And I think they're doing a pretty good job with it. Last thing, and I'll let you get out of here, Ray. Florida State, Miami, Florida, we were growing up like it was different. Like 75, 80% of the kids stayed in state. Right now, I did a little math. Only 40 or so percent of the kids are staying in state. Do you think that's more NIL? Do you think it's because of these right here, cell phones? The kids are just more worldly, want to go explore. What is it? Because the kids in this state can go anywhere now. It didn't used to be that way.
So I think it's a mixture of both, of all the above you just said. One with the cell phone, I remember having to wait by my house phone. You didn't want to go nowhere because you didn't want to miss a coach's call when they called the house phone.
Exactly.
Now they can touch you anytime in Twitter, text messages, things of that nature. Then you got the NIL piece of it. You got the weather piece of it. Some people. It's not human. I can go out here. I can go there. Because like I said, I'm from California. A lot of kids are leaving California that wouldn't left California before. Because before it was either USC, UCLA, and if you left California, you was either going to Oregon or maybe Arizona State. Now they're coming cross country. As you know, Florida comes against all the quarterbacks. This side goes against all the quarterbacks from Cali, things of that nature. So like I said, I think it's a mixture of both, man. I like it though. I like it. I do. I think that first thing when you go in a locker room, they're gonna have the Cali, Florida, Georgia, Texas conversation. Who puts out the best? And I mean, when I played professionally, we had the same conversation in the locker room. Cam Newton ruffled a lot of feathers in the last couple of weeks, talking about Georgia produced the best ones, but then when they pulled up Florida playing Georgia schools, it didn't look too hot. So it kind of put his foot in his mouth. And like you said, I'm a world traveler. Originally from California, went to college in Georgia. But now I teach and coach in Florida. And my rookie season, I played professionally. I played in Texas, so I've been in all of them. And it's great football, man. It's fun. But I do like the fact that these guys are traveling now and getting to play in different places and things of that nature. So it's cool. But I think Florida is hunkering down. Florida State is hunkering down and like, no, you're not taking my talent out the state.
Well, they're all.
But I think Florida State does it. I think Florida State does a good job too of showing like I will rather stay here and get the talent here than have to outsource and go out to them.
They've made a concerted effort, especially like recruiting against Central and South Florida. It's harder. Like the North Florida kids, they do pretty good with, but it's a different deal. With all the schools coming at you, give somebody an example. Like your phone, like every time I'm with you, some coach is calling you. Well, I'll be sitting there with you like in a training set. You're like, I got to take this. And you'll walk off or something. How often do you get hit up, by the way? I'm just curious. Like on a daily average.
Like I'll tell you right now, like people get mad when they text me and like, oh, I didn't hear from you. I have 1,625 text messages unread right now. Like you figure with the not only the kids we train at Trench, but the California Power roster that I have, coaches contact me as well. Anywhere from Troutwine to Atkins to Matt Luke to Ellerby, like you name it, they all call, which is cool though too, because like I said, I'm able to talk to these coaches and see what they see and work on what they think the kids should work on, so that way I can make them a better player coming out and being ready for college. So.
Well, it's a long, long process, my man. I truly appreciate you trying to help me educate some people, and myself included. O-line is not easy. I think it's the most unique. And watching all the drills I have over the years with you at Powerhouse Gym or Trench Academies, that's been a lot of fun for me. So, Ray, stay with me for a minute. I'll get back with you here in a second. But for everybody who watched, please like and subscribe to this video. If you live in Tampa, Take your kid over to see Ray at Powerhouse Gym. He'll get them right. A lot of kids getting scholarships over there. So it's pretty cool. But everybody take care, and thank you very much.